Hey everyone, my name is Kathy. I'm the producer and director of the official PALCS Winging It podcast, and today I'm going to be asking all of you questions about state testing.
Hi, I'm Dr. Michelle Efthimiadou, the Supervisor of Special Education here at PALCS.
Hi, I'm Bob Brown, the Supervisor of State Testing at PALCS.
Hello, I'm Mike Logue, and I serve as the high school principal at PALCS.
Hi, my name is Chris Stiles, and I get to be the principal of the University Scholars Program.
And this is Winging It.
Let's jump into the questions. The first question is, why is it important for students to participate in state testing?
The Pennsylvania Department of Education requires Pennsylvania public schools to take two types of state assessments. The Pennsylvania System of School Assessment, which many of you may know as the PSSAs, in grades 3 to 8, and the Keystone exams, which are given in grades 8 to 11. We are required by the Pennsylvania Department of Education to have a 95% participation rate on our state assessments. So those would be the biggest reasons for taking the state assessments for our school.
And the second question is, how do these assessments benefit both students and the school?
So I understand that state assessments can be nerve-wracking, and it's a legitimate question. Like, why are these important? How will they benefit my students? So with any assessment, again, whether that's a state assessment or an assessment in your course, or the SAT, or the PSAT, or the AP exams, or even your driver's education test, your learner's permit test, right? We get some pretty good information from those assessments that help us determine how we can best support students. It could also help us as a school determine, where do we want to invest money, right, to support students? What programs do we want to invest in? What new instructional strategies or approaches do we want to learn about in order to support our students? And so the information and the results that we get back from these assessments help to inform those decisions. So that's one. I think another benefit, and I talked about this a little bit with what I just shared, is that when students take assessments, they get experience, right? So most of our state assessments at the high school are given in 9th and 10th grade, and then as I shared, at the elementary and middle school level in 3rd through 8th grades. Well, that's experience that students are getting when taking assessments, and so that could help with, again, if they're taking an AP exam, or they're taking their learner's permit, or they're taking the SAT or the PSAT, or any other assessment that they need to take, that's experience that they're gaining in how to take those assessments.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with establishing a routine. Our society is based on merit, so students are showing that they have proficiency in something on a test in order to get to the next level of life. So it might be a commercial driver's license test. Right. If they want to get a job as a truck driver. If they want to become a nurse, they have to pass the NCLEX. A lawyer's going to have to pass the MCATs. An attorney's going to have to pass the bar exam. So this just gets them in the routine of leveling up through showing their proficiency.
Yeah, for sure.
Can we also just add that it is a great time to meet some of your fellow classmates, to meet some of your instructors, some of your teachers, because we do fan out across the state. So it's a really great opportunity to come out and meet people that maybe you haven't met yet.
Yeah, with almost 3,000 students across the state, there's probably a PALCS student in your neighborhood that you might not know yet.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. And Dr. E, to speak to that point, I shared about the 95% participation rate. Like, this is an opportunity for us as a school to really partner with our families. Mm-hmm. Like, the bottom line is we cannot reach that 95% participation rate without the partnership and the collaboration of our learning coaches and of our parents. So it really does help in that area, and it's always great for students to see teachers. Like, what's the question? You're real? Like, you're real? Like it's you, like in the flesh. So that's always a great experience.
Some parents question why state testing is necessary for cyber students. How would you explain the importance of participation?
We are a Pennsylvania public school. And so, again, that is a requirement from the Pennsylvania Department of Education that our students who are scheduled to take the state assessment, they're required. I know that's a strong word, but they are required to take our state assessments. We need to follow all the guidelines from the Pennsylvania Department of Education.
And I think, too, it's no secret that the school choice movement is something that's come up over the last, say, 20 years, 25 years, is threatened every year by legislators who want to cut funding for cyber charter schools. And so it's important for us to show that cyber education is working. And one of the key ways that we can do that is to show up and really show what you know. And demonstrate for the world that cyber education that works, and when you are given freedom and control over your own education, you can end up with a great result. This is an opportunity for you to really show what you've learned and show the world that giving you control and access to your own education is something that we want to keep going forward.
If a parent is on the fence about having their student participate, what would you say to reassure them?
Well, I think the first step is to try to figure out what the concern is. So, for instance, if it might be a concern about transportation, the parent may be working a shift when their student is scheduled to test. And so at first they might say, oh, well, I can't make that because I can't get them there. But by reaching out to the facilitators, the teacher facilitators, or to the school, to people like Bob Brown, we can often overcome those. A student who might be scheduled for the morning, maybe we could test them in the afternoon session or on Fridays when there's makeup days. So there's lots of flexibility built in. It might be a question about anxiety about meeting the people who are at the testing center. Right. And the teachers actually host a Zoom session where they get to know the students who are coming and get them together. So when you get there for testing, you're seeing some friendly faces. Or it might be an academic concern about, am I ready for this? And I would say in that case, we'd want to encourage the student and the parent to reach out to the teacher. What the students tell me is that if you're doing well in school, you're going to do well on the test. And so there's no surprises there. We're looking forward to having them come out and test and having a good experience while they're there.
Additionally, a benefit would be, and this pertains primarily to high school students, is taking the Keystone exams and, again, giving it your best effort and scoring proficient on the Keystone exams is really the fast track to meeting our Act 158 graduation pathway. So again, many of you may know about the 5 graduation pathways that the Pennsylvania Department of Education requires students to meet. Students need to meet at least one of them to graduate. And so the first 2 are the Keystone proficiency pathways. And so, again, a benefit would be, taking and passing all 3.
Clears the landing
exactly.
for graduation.
Yeah. You meet one of those first 2 pathways and boom, you're done. However, there are alternate pathways. So if you don't score proficient on all 3, or you don't meet the composite pathway, there are other pathways that you can meet. So it's in a way it's low stakes or maybe even medium stakes, right? We're just asking that you give these state assessments your best effort for that time period. So they're not super high stakes. So they're low medium stakes, and so.
And by taking these tests, if you don't do well, you'll have more time to plan for one of the other pathways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The teachers will encourage the students to do their best, but there's no pressure from the teachers to, complete every problem on the test or anything like that. It's a hopefully a pleasant experience for everybody concerned.
Yeah, and I think one of the questions, too, that I often receive is, if I don't do well on the Keystone exams, will this impact my ability to pass the course, right? How you perform on the Keystone exams or the PSSAs really has no bearing on you passing the course. But again, it does give us good information, and we just ask that you give 110% on the assessments. Because as Mr. Stiles shared, we want you to apply what you know. And again, if you don't know something, you don't know something. You do your best and you move on.
What steps has the school taken to make testing accessible and convenient for cyber students?
Every year, at the beginning of the school year, we map out where all of our students, all of our families are located, and we take all of that information into consideration when we figure out where our testing sites will be located. So our goal in doing that is to try to reduce the impact of travel that a family has to involve themselves in to get to a testing site. We aim to have less than a 45-minute travel to any testing site for PSSA or Keystone testing. And really with the entire state of Pennsylvania, what we do is we map out every one of our communities, every pocket where we have students, and we're trying to get them to those sites in as easy of a fashion as possible. That can be a little challenging when we get to some parts of the northern parts of the state, but we still have systems in place where we can even in some of the more dense urban areas, and even in some of the less populated parts of the northern part of the state, we still have systems in place and places where we can count on for being available for testing. So we want to take that burden away as much as possible, because we know that traveling is already part of the process.
As they're driving and preparing, like, what do we do on our end to ensure that all they need to think about is, arriving, checking in, getting comfortable, and just focusing on taking the assessment?
That's really what we want them to do, is have a good meal before they arrive, and maybe bring a nice book that they would like to read if they should finish testing early. That's really the only thing that a student would need to bring to testing. The testing department will provide everything else. We have our laptops, we have our portable network, we have all of the peripherals, we have scratch paper, we have snacks. Gluten-free snacks. Allergy-friendly snacks. We have water, we have mints, we have a number of little things like that can sort of help smooth the experience out for a student and just make it more comfortable. That's really our goal, is we want the students to feel comfortable in that environment, especially if it's a new place for them.
And you mentioned laptops. So talk to us a little bit about what the format for taking the PSSAs and Keystones is going to look like this year. I know last year some sites took the state assessments digitally, but
Some were still paper and pencil.
some were still paper and pencil, filling in the bubbles and writing your responses. This year's going to be a little different.
This year will be very different. We are almost 100%. We have, I think, two students who will still be testing on paper as part of an IEP. Without that, the rest of the testing experience will be completely online this year. And it's nice, particularly for some of the students who are used to that. It's very native. It's very comfortable for students who are already used to a cyber education experience. There's still going to be scratch paper and stuff you can work on your math problems. That will all be there, but everything testing-wise will take place within that computer interface. And it's also really nice as we make this transition, for students who have accommodations as part of their IEP or a 504 plan, because we now have the ability to have audio. The computer can read some of the parts of the assessments to the students if that's part of their IEP or their plan. They can have different color contrast. We have different levels of zoom and magnification, so that's going to be really helpful for some of the students. And I think that also speaks a little bit, Kit, to your point about what makes it a comfortable setup for the students when they're coming in. That's also something that our testing department sees, and we hear that feedback from families when they're sort of on the fence about whether or not they really want their student to be testing. And it's, will those accommodations be able to be met? Can we meet that student at a place that's comfortable for them and have everything in place so that they will be as successful as they can be and do their best?
What resources are available to students to help prepare for the tests?
Well, there are some online training tools and tutorials from the PDE, and I don't know if right at this point there will be a link that will pop up on the screen if you want to click it, and it'll take you to those. So if you're interested in learning more about what kinds of questions are on the 7th grade math test or the 3rd grade reading test, you can go to the PDE and see some of those sample questions to get a picture of it. But by far and away, the most important resource is your teacher. Your teacher here at PALCS is going to know you the best. They also have a lot of resources on your student profile. You're going to see your iReady scores, your IXL scores. Your teacher can help go through those with you and see if you might need to learn a little bit more about measurement as opposed to geometry, or whatever the indicators show. And the teacher can give you prescriptions on how to do that. And they'll know, your teacher's going to know on the Unit 3 test, you might be missing this one concept. If we can unlock that concept, it will help you with 3 or 4 others down the way. So your teacher, by far and away, is the most important resource. And recently, we've seen some math intervention numbers of student success.
Yeah.
The students who are working regularly, the students who have a math interventionist and are working with them regularly, are showing 1 and 2 years worth of growth. And it's only March. So,
March.
And they're already showing, sometimes 2 years worth of growth at this point. So not only are they growing because of their work with their regular teacher and their grade level work, but the math interventionist is able to help them with unlocking concepts that might have a spillover effect, and just help them in several other concepts. And it's just tremendous to see the growth of students within 1 year.
I like that you looked at your watch to
I have the date on
see
it. I still
what
have it.
to see what month it is. But speaking of months, Bob, when are the PSSAs and when are the Keystone exams?
So the PSSA testing this year will take place from April 29th through May 2nd. May 2nd is our makeup day on site at the testing sites, and our makeup week will be the following week. And Keystones take place on the 13th through the 15th of May, and the makeup testing for the Keystones will be the following week as well.
And to clarify, our makeup sessions are only at our Westchester office or offices and our Pittsburgh office.
That's correct. Yes,
Okay.
our makeup day for PSSA testing on May 2nd will actually still be at the site where the students are scheduled to test, but after that week, we're back here in Westchester or we're at our campus in Pittsburgh.
What kind of staff support is available on testing days to help students who may feel overwhelmed and need assistance?
So most of our instructional staff is out at different testing sites, and at each site there are plenty of people there to help and assist. And back here at the office, we do have a number of support staff available, including members of our student services team, our testing department, support staff at each division, and including our school leadership.
This is a big question because I think a lot of families and a lot of students, we often get this question. When do students receive their scores?
The students actually will first have access to their score information for PSSA testing. That comes to us typically somewhere between the 2nd to the 3rd week of June, and it comes to us in the form of something called a parent letter. It's not the official report, but it is a digital copy of a dashboard view of the student's score. For Keystone testing, those traditionally come to us somewhere in the 2nd week of July.
Okay.
And the official printed copies of the reports, those come to us in September, and those are mailed out to families shortly after.
Excellent.
How do student results on the PSSA and Keystone exams help improve student learning and instruction?
even though the PSSAs and state assessments, the Keystone exams, are what we would call like one-off assessments, right? Typically, you only take these state assessments one time. However, students can retake the Keystone exams if they want to, if they didn't score proficient and they want the opportunity to score proficient. So they are, kind of one-off state assessments, but we use that data to measure how we're doing as a school when it comes to student achievement and student outcomes. So we look at things like how did our instruction impact student growth or student learning? Where did we excel? Where's there an area that we need to improve? Where are the trends, right? And so every year, different trends, it kind of ebbs and flows. One year we might be really strong in, let's say, data, statistics, and probability on the Algebra 1 Keystone exam, and we might not be, doing that well with algebraic thinking or numbers and operations. And so we might want to shift our focus a little bit on, okay, how can we support students, in the area of algebraic thinking? They did great on data, statistics, and probability. What can we do to improve?
Text-dependent analysis.
Yeah, text-dependent analysis is another one. Citing evidence, explaining your reasoning, and so we use the results to really take an internal look at how we're doing and how we can improve.
Yeah, one way to think about it is the 3 different levels. So on the student level, the teachers and the support staff here are going to be able to use the information from a student's test to help place them in the right class for next year, to make sure that if they need support, that we've got that support on day one for the school. And they'll be able to see what areas the student is strong in and what areas they need to work on. So on an individual basis, teachers can use that information to help the individual student. The next one is on the instructor level for their class. A teacher can see, hey, my students are doing really well on these standards, but my weakest standard is this one over here. And so let me look at how I'm teaching that right now. Yeah. Let me see what I might be able to do to make that better for the following year. So we do something, our teachers do something called SLOs. And where they the new word SPM. Sorry, yeah. SPM is the new acronym.
Student Performance Measure.
Right. So every year teachers are picking one of their student performance measures that is a little relatively weaker than the others, right. To do a project on through the year, and really do an intensive study on that topic and try to improve student learning in that area. And so there's a constant, continuous improvement from each teacher to improve their class. And then as Mike Logue, as Mr. Logue was talking about, as a whole school, we can figure out where we want to devote additional resources to based on the overall trends of the school.
And there's one more piece to this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear it.
The data from the standardized assessments is also used by the state and federal governments, departments of education, in order to look at our performance data as a whole school, to evaluate our programs and how rigorous they are, in order to add to our federal funding opportunities.
Thank you, Dr. E. I often share the example with high school students of a check engine light. Right, my check engine light has been on in my car for months. My car has 250,000 miles on it.
Hey, congratulations! That's pretty good.
Every now and then I'm driving and it starts kind of shaking, and I'm like, "This is it! 250,000 miles.
Just keeps going.
It's been a good ride." But the check engine light's on, and I often share with students that, even though that check engine light's on, that my car's still operating, it's still running, for the most part, but it's signaling that something's off, right? And I need to get it looked at. And so, that's just a way to look at, any sort of assessment is you might be excelling in one area and we might be excelling in a school in one area, but there's something that we need to improve in. Like there's a signal, and sometimes those results serve as that signal that we need to change something. And so again, super important that our students are taking the state assessment so that we can get a good read on how we're doing as a school. So,
what would you say to parents who are hesitant about state testing?
Again, I think this is a great opportunity to partner with parents to build that collaboration, to help us meet that 95% participation goal, to support students. And so I would say, like, share those concerns with us, right? Communicate those concerns with us so that we can have that conversation. I would also share that this is a great opportunity, as Dr. E shared, to meet teachers, for teachers to meet students. And so, again, it's just a great opportunity to build those partnerships and to build those relationships. I would also validate the hesitancy and say, that's a completely acceptable feeling, right?
Yep.
It's fine to be hesitant. You have permission to feel, as one book would say. There's a book called Permission to Feel. So I would say, yes, share those hesitancies. It's okay, and let's work through it together to see if we can kind of work through it. And there was a recent example, right, of a parent that reached out and shared some concerns, and Bob and the state testing team and myself, we were able to kind of work through it, come to an agreement for their student, and they they're going to test in May.
Right.
But again, they shared the hesitancy. We worked through it. We responded, and we came to kind of a consensus together, a plan moving forward.
Yeah, I tell everybody, if they have that level of concern, absolutely reach out to us, because we have some areas where we can be very flexible with this. If a student's really concerned about the space where they're going to be, or if it's a group setting and they are concerned being in a group and they'd rather be testing in a small group, or they'd rather be testing with us during makeup week in Westchester and Pittsburgh, we have flexibility to make some of those changes and maybe remove some of those concerns from their plate. I would encourage everybody, if they do have any question about any part of the state testing process, statetesting@palcs.org. That email goes to all of our team. I see that as well, and we're guaranteed that we can make sure we get a quick response to that.
The next question deals with advice for students who are nervous about state testing.
It's okay to be nervous. That's a completely, again, acceptable feeling. To be nervous, to be anxious.
It's normal to have some butterflies.
Yeah, it's normal to have some butterflies. But I would, again, just encourage students to reach out to their teachers, to reach out to their counselors, to reach out to their advisor, to talk to, again, their special education teacher or their principals, and we can talk that through. But as what Bob shared is, we really try and make it a very welcoming, a very easy process, so that students don't have to worry about all the kind of extracurricular stuff that they may be thinking about. They can just come, focus on the test, and just put forth their best effort. Our teachers will be at the site, so they can certainly answer any questions that students may have. But Dr. E, I feel like you were going to say something.
I actually do want to say something, because in the past we've had students who were nervous about coming to an unfamiliar location, so their parents can bring them by the night before, just so that they can take a look at the space. If it works out, they can even meet some of the staff there beforehand. We've had that where we ran into them in the lobby and took them to the testing room and showed them around. And it was a very nice kind of way to ease into that. We do also have like a meet and greet prior to the testing week. So take advantage of those things so that you do feel more comfortable.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the meet and greet and how that works? So
we started doing this a couple years ago, and it's just an informal context or opportunity for students to hop into a Zoom room a few weeks before the Keystone exam. I'm not sure about the PSSAs. We can certainly talk to Dr. Rausch and Mrs. Strelick about that. But at the high school, we've been, again, doing these meet and greets where you just pop into a Zoom, meet your teachers that are, your proctors, your teachers who are going to be there at the site, ask any questions that you may have. The teachers will share some additional information about the site. Some teachers have been to a site like it's their site, like multiple times, right?
Yes,
so if you're like in
they know it better than the proctors.
if you're in Lewisburg, or if you're in Du Bois, or if you're in Erie or Pittsburgh, a lot of times teachers have been to sites multiple times, so they kind of know the area, they know the location, and so they can really provide information to sort of ease that ease students' minds about taking the state assessment. And then something I shared also is they really are kind of middle to low stakes test, right? So
they don't affect your grade.
Right, they don't affect your grade. They're not necessarily graduation requirements. Again, the Keystone exams, but it is the easiest way, right? If you score proficient on all 3 Keystone exams, or you meet the composite pathway, it's kind of a straightforward process. So it is kind of low and middle stakes. Again, I say that with the caveat that we want you to kind of give your best effort, right? Mm-hmm. Not just, breeze through it, although some of you could probably breeze through it and do a great job. I certainly wasn't that type of test taker. I was always the last one, there, or close to last taking test. But again, I think that's another thing to think about, right? Put yourself in the shoes of a student. I don't want to be the last person, right? I don't want to be the last person in the room. Like everybody's done, okay. Right? Everybody's done. They're reading, and I'm still taking it. Like, and you feel like that urge to just start rushing, right? You want to talk to that?
No, it's okay. Everyone works at their own speed.
Yeah.
Some of our brightest students are most methodical. And that's okay to take your time and go back and check your work and make sure that you didn't miss a page. I guess with the computers it will be a little bit different, right. But I think that there is a way that you can flag questions and come back to them later.
You can, yes.
So definitely taking your time is just fine.
Yep.
And that's probably worth noting as well, that tests are not timed.
Right.
There's no reason to feel like you need to rush through anything. If that's a concern, you can take that right off of your plate. The testing, the students have as much time as they need to complete their work.
What are some things students can look forward to on a test day to make it a more positive experience?
Yeah, what I hear from the students is the best part about testing are the snacks. So that is the answer I get first and most all the time. But of course, meeting your teachers is a great opportunity to meet your teachers. As we mentioned, there's with 3,200 students across the state of Pennsylvania, there's probably other PALCS students in your neighborhood that you just might not know yet. Mm-hmm. And so it might be an opportunity to make a new friend or just make a new contact. And then when you see them in your classes at school, you'll be able to wave and say hello. Hey, we were at the same testing center together. But I think the overall thing to look forward to is it's an opportunity for us. If you cherish the opportunity to control your education, design your day the way that you want to do it, choose your own pathway through to the education that you want, then we need to show that cyber education works. Yeah. And we know it does because we've seen the numbers. We have the best SAT scores in the state for any cyber school, and better than a vast majority of public high schools in Pennsylvania. We know that our education is working, but one of the ways that we can show that to the state is through you showing your work and showing what you can do on these state assessments, and prove to the world that giving you control of your own education is a good thing.
That gave me goosebumps. It really did. It really did. And just to follow up on that, our state assessment sites, right? Counselors, academic advisors, teachers, special education teachers, other support staff are there, right? So it's also an opportunity to meet, staff that you may not know, or that you may not see, regularly.
Yeah.
And the staff at your sites knows your teachers. So
Right.
you can certainly share that information with them, and they can take it back and start to build the relationship there.
What are some student accommodations that are currently in place for state testing?
So student accommodations are all individualized based on the student's needs and developed through the IEP. We typically test in a small group in the afternoon session, which makes it a little bit easier. That is no longer like an exclusive kind of group, because we've found that some students do better in the morning, some students do better in the afternoon. With the online testing, we also have increased opportunities for read alouds if that is documented in the IEP. All of those things are part of the annual IEP conversation with the team, and then we work very hard together with the testing department to make sure that all of those things are in place. And every proctor at the site is aware of the specific testing accommodations for each individual student.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. E. And Bob, you shared this just a minute ago in terms of the flexibility, right, and the pacing of the test. So, if you feel like you need additional time, right, and you're taking the Algebra 1 or Keystone or PSSA, you have that flexibility, to complete the test,
Right.
At your own pace.
Yes.
So
yeah.
that would certainly be a huge accommodation or flexibility.
That's definitely, I think, a very good point, because if you're testing in the morning and you do need to move over into the afternoon, you can do that. That's not a problem.
How about bathroom breaks and just
Mandatory.
Mandatory, right? I don't know if that's necessarily an accommodation. That's probably more of a necessity. But again, if a student needs to use the bathroom, or might just need to get up and stretch, or just take a little walk, your site leaders, the proctors, can help facilitate all that. It's not like you're in a room and you don't have those options.
How would parents or students go about asking and/or requesting specific accommodations?
This is a point of discussion at every annual IEP meeting, and if something changes, there's a revision meeting to update. There is a process in place for all of our special education case managers and 504 coordinators to document those accommodations within our system so that everyone is aware. And we all work together to make sure that all of those needed accommodations are in place prior to testing.
They do now have, students will have the ability to pause a test if they do need to take a break. If it's somewhere in the middle of a section or a module, hit pause, goes into a 20-minute countdown, and when they come back, they can pick up right where they left off. And it's also worth mentioning, with online testing, one of the concerns that some people had voiced when we first started going down the path of testing everything being online, if a student is in the process of taking a test and something happens to their laptop,
Right.
it does not ruin everything. They don't have to go back and start all over. It has an autosave function
Great.
that kicks in every so many seconds, and it saves their progress as they're going through. So that's extremely helpful. Moving from pencil and paper to the online testing, that has changed significantly for some of the students who, if it was a manual dexterity or if it's something with handwriting, moving online and being able to type responses. And with the testing this year, with everything online, it's now technology enhanced questioning as well, so they can highlight certain parts of questions to answer. They can take some of the text from over here, they can drag and drop. There are drop down menus. It's very native again to
Right.
what students are used to doing on a tablet or their computer at home.
How can families help encourage their children to participate and do their best in state testing?
Just getting a good sleep the night before
Yeah.
and getting a good breakfast that morning. Those would be two really helpful things.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and Mr. Stiles shared this a bit earlier, but really encouraging students to attend their live virtual lessons, to meet with their teachers for support. I know that teachers of PSSA and Keystone exams will begin or have already started review sessions. So encourage them to attend those review sessions. Again, to reach out to their teachers if they have any questions about any concepts or what to expect on the PSSA or Keystone exams.
Yeah, I would also encourage students, parents, guardians, learning coaches, teachers, everybody, take a look at those online practice assessments
Yes.
that Kit referenced earlier. Those are a great way to take advantage of getting to know your way around the testing interface, and you can take one with absolutely zero stress.
Right.
You can get every question wrong and it won't matter, but you can learn your way around how that works, so that when you set foot in the room on your first day of testing, that's not the first time you're seeing it.
That's an excellent point.
I have one more.
Go for it.
Plan accordingly for travel, because it is a different morning, right? It's you have to get out there and get to a place. If you give yourself a little bit of extra time, that gives you and your students some additional time to kind of settle into the testing site, to meet the teachers, the proctors who are there.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Parents are normally the ones to provide transportation for their students. Is there a spot for them to be able to wait for their students, or do they have to just drop their kid off and leave? Like, what does that sort of look like?
That can vary from site to site. I know some of our sites during COVID, we had car line, and we had people meeting at cars and handling check-in and registration that way. This year, we're actually moving away from the placards. We're actually moving to a bracelet system, so the students are going to be receiving Tyvek bracelets. They're great. They can endure weather and lots of ripping and tugging. Hopefully they don't come off. Our intent there is for the students to wear those bracelets, and that's part of the check-in process. Parent, guardian, learning coach has a matching bracelet. That's how the check-in takes place. Some sites may still choose to do that at car side, depending on how the flow of traffic coming into the building may be, and some may be doing it inside, but that's somewhat up to the individual sites as to how they will handle that. But I know most of the people I've spoken to so far said they're looking forward to, again, having the families come in, meet with them, and I know some of our sites, our family ambassadors were also planning to be there.
Great.
They're planning to network with the families and get to learn more about them, meet everybody. So I would say if it's offered at that site when you get there, absolutely come in, meet the teachers, meet the staff. They're looking forward to it.
And some sites do have lobbies or places where a parent might want to, kind of sit down and do some work. Right? They'll bring their laptop and do some work and kind of wait and hang out if the site allows for it.
A good number of our sites actually have somewhere like that, and some of them are extremely desirable as well.
Right.
The Inn at Penn has a fantastic lounge where the parents can just hang out, and it looks like a fancy library. It's beautiful. The majority of our testing sites are hotel or conference center style facilities. We do have some community centers that are also sites for us, and some of our buildings here at PALCS, both in Pittsburgh and here in Westchester, also serve as sites. Most of our sites, I would say, are hotel based. So that's kind of the atmosphere that you can expect when you walk into most of the testing sites. We've never had an issue with parking, even at some of the sites where you may think it might be a little more congested. Again, go back to reference the Inn at Penn. They actually have parking that they will do for the staff and for the family when they arrive, because it is a tighter, more urban area. So we've worked out any kind of parking situation that could potentially come up. We want to avoid that and just make it, again, it's a very simple, comfortable experience.
Yeah.
You come in, you're welcomed. That includes parking as well.
And then the last question here is, can you tell us about State Testing Leaderboard?
Oh yeah,
yes.
the fun part.
The grade level challenge.
Let's go 9th grade.
Yes, so State Testing Grade Level Challenge is something we launched this year. It is everyone who's enrolled at PALCS in 3rd through 11th grade who would be scheduled to take PSSA or Keystone testing, they're automatically considered a part of that challenge. Parent, guardian, learning coach has to go follow the QR code, follow the link that's posted. I believe it's still pinned in the lobby.
On the lobby, yeah.
On the lobby. And all they need to do is click that link, scan that QR code. It will take them to the form that says, yes, my students will be attending, put their name in there, and they are then entered into the contest, into the drawing. And we have some really interesting prizes that we're doing at the different levels at this point. So middle school, elementary school, middle school, and high school, there's a challenge running at each one of those divisions. Right now, 3rd grade is holding steady in the elementary school. 8th grade is holding steady in the middle school, and 9th grade is running away with it in high school right now, and actually holding the highest level so far of
Nice.
commitment
Let's go,
in
9th grade.
the entire school. I think they're closing in on 40% that have already.
Nice work, third
Yes.
grade and 8th grade.
Yeah, and we do. Want me to talk about the prizes real quickly? I
Yeah.
can talk about those. So each division, the way it's broken out, once your division has achieved the most commitment to, yes, we will participate, we're then also monitoring at the back end of that to make sure that those students actually did show up for testing as scheduled, or they came to make up testing as scheduled. And once we have that, all of that data in place, we can then go and look at which grade in which division won their division, and then we'll do a drawing from within there for the students. So we have at our 2 tiers at the bottom and middle, we have Chick-fil-A gift cards, and we have AMC movie gift cards, and at the top tier on each division, it's a Nintendo Switch console.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Nice.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a pretty neat little perk this year.
That's awesome.
Students, parents, anybody that's like, I'm on the fence about state testing, like, what is your pitch to them?
We look forward to seeing you at state testing. We're excited to meet you.
Please remember that we are flexible with what we can do to make this a comfortable and welcoming environment, a welcome experience for your students. We have a number of things that we can address that may be concerns of yours. I would just say reach out to us at statetesting@palcs.org, start the conversation, and we will be more than happy to assist you.
I second what Dr. E shared, but I will add too that we are a school community. All right, so we're a community of learning coaches, we are a community of students, we are a community of teachers and counselors, and we all play a part in making our school a positive place, a successful place, and so as we shared, that participation goal really, that's what it is. It's a goal, and in order to meet that goal, we need everybody, and that includes students and learning coaches. And so, again, my message would be to let's strengthen that partnership when it comes to state assessments. Again, I know that they're not always fun, and they don't define who you are as a person, but they do play an important role, and they do provide benefits as we talked about. And so I'll leave with one of our Algebra 1 high school teachers shared kind of this theme, and it was rise to the challenge. So I guess my message would be let's partner together to rise to the challenge of meeting that participation goal for state assessments.
My esteemed colleagues took all the good answers, but I guess what I can add would be to
Save
say
the
thank
best
you.
for last.
I can say thank you for allowing us to partner with you for your children's education, and we're looking forward to meeting everybody at testing and using the information that we get to help make the school even better.
And these are some submissions from our students.
Hi everyone, my name is Naomi. I'm a senior and I'm also our student government president. I know that Keystone testing is coming up soon. You guys are probably starting review soon or you are reviewing, and I just want to encourage you guys to go take these tests and do well on them. I'm graduating in 2 months because I took these tests. I took them in 9th and 10th grade, and I'm graduating on the Keystone compository pathway. It was super easy. I just did the review that my teachers gave me, and I went and I took the test, and now I'm all set to graduate. So go rise to the challenge. I believe in you guys. You guys are going to do amazing. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Addison Rosenberger. I am a NHS member here at PALCS and also part of student government. I am a junior, so I took my Keystones and will be graduating on the Keystone pathway. So you may be starting to review with your teachers now for the Keystones or very soon, but I want you to rise to the challenge and know that you will be amazing, and I am confident in your skills. When I got to the Keystone Testing Center, I was pretty nervous, but I immediately became comfortable. Everybody was super nice, everybody was smiling, and everybody wants to help you out to the best of their ability. I'm just here to say that you got this. Bye.